Hey, everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here, and I'm back with you again with my partner Abe Safa, and we're going to talk about landmines. And I think it's a great time to talk about the landmines of productivity that we're experiencing in the market, especially this time of the year. So, Abe, thanks for being here, man. I'm excited to jump right into this conversation.
Yeah, man, always fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, for the audience out there, just I think if you're like me, you've got to be tired, just absolutely tired of putting in so much effort and getting very little return, especially if you're out there calling your buyer leads, calling your seller leads. You're putting in the massive contacts, the lead generation time, but you're not getting the appointments, or your appointments are not moving forward and signing listing agreements or writing contracts. Your business just isn't growing. So, we're going to talk about 5 productivity landmines that if you'll avoid these landmines, you'll keep moving quickly forward. So, Abe, I'm going to start, okay? Because the first one that I wrote down on my list was this. Landmine number one is there's so many online lead services now, whether it be buyer leads, whether it be listing leads, there's just hundreds of them. We get texts every day, right? There's a new lead service out there. Every single day we get these texts. Well, what I find is a landmine within agents, and I observe it in my own team and my own office, is we're calling those inbound leads one time. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, no, I call them more than that. You might, but in general, our industry does not. We call them one time. We leave a message and we wait for them to call back. Now, we have these intentions that we're going to call them a second time, but after we call them the first time, we get busy and we get onto other things and we forget to go back to them because we got one or two more. So we never go back to them. And we look at it and the average lead's called one time or even less. And that is a landmine. You want to avoid that. You need to make multiple calls to these leads in the first day, and you need to call them from multiple platforms. It's a call from your dialer. Maybe you're using Follow Up Boss or Real Geeks and you hit the dialer button. And then if you use a dialer, then the second call should be from your direct cell phone. And if you have a dialer that allows you to text from the dialer, go ahead and text them. But your next text should be from your cell phone. Go ahead and email them from your dialer. That's perfectly fine. But you see, you're using multiple platforms to reach these people multiple times during the first day, and then continue that for second and third day. And you'll have a dramatic increase in the number of people that you're talking to and the number of appointments you set. That is a productivity landmine.
And that's one of the biggest ones, Greg. The one
Yeah.
and done is what I call it.
Yes.
That's all it is. And I can say the same thing for expireds as well. Expired comes off the market. You see agents that want to do well on expireds, they'll call them at 8 a.m. and then that's it. And you got other agents going and just cleaning house all day long with the expireds. So yeah, it's got to take multiple attempts to get that lead. So it's really frustrating as a company owner, as a team leader, especially when you buy these leads and they're coming in, and then you see an agent made one attempt and never got in touch with them. So there was never even a chance to convert that lead.
Right. So we paid for you paid for the lead.
Yeah.
And there was it's kind of like, a convenience store or a retail store. You buy inventory and you leave it in the back stock room. You never put it on the shelf. Yeah. Like there's no chance you're going to sell.
No chance. Zero chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The second one, it kind of feeds off the back end of what you just finished. I call it the low frequency landmine.
Okay.
So not making enough attempts to reach somebody.
I
mean, think about you or me or whoever you out there watching. How many times does your phone ring, and if you don't recognize the number, you don't even pick it up?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, like all day long, the phone's ringing. So when you call someone that one time and they don't pick up, we have to make sure that we're not making the assumption that they're not interested. They don't even know who you are to be not interested in you. So they have to see your number multiple times. They have to see multiple attempts for them to actually get curious and want to pick up the phone. So studies show it takes a minimum of 7 attempts on average to get someone on the phone. So the one and done doesn't work. A low frequency doesn't work. So it takes multiple attempts. And like Greg said earlier, that's one of the best tips you can actually hear. Even when you sit down for the first time, you call those people. He talked about calling them a second time from your cell phone, sending a text message, sending an email. That's 4 attempts just on the first sit down. So that's what frequency is making multiple attempts from multiple phones, from multiple systems, multiple channels, whether it's email, text, video text, whatever, to get their attention.
Yeah.
So you fix number one, the one and done, you fix number two, low frequency, you're going to see that you're reaching a lot more of your leads. And that's where it starts. You got to get them on the phone before you even have any chance of converting them.
Yeah. When I hear frequency, the second thing I think that I'll add on frequency is we need to increase the frequency of our follow-up. I think what we do is we talk to the lead, we put them in follow-up, and we're going to call them in 2 months. That's not enough frequency. We need to increase the frequency by 100%. So instead of putting somebody in a follow-up, creating a task for 4 months from now, put them in 1 month, and then put them in the next month, and then maybe 2 months after that. In other words, it shouldn't be I talk to you now and then I talk to you in 4 months. It should be I talk to you now and I talk to you 2 more times before 4 months, because that's too much time. By the time you follow up with somebody in such a low frequency, every time you call them, you have to remind them who the heck you are.
Yeah.
You're not developing any kind of like relationship. You're not building any rapport. And if you build any rapport, you've lost that rapport by that time. So another one, the third one that I have, or actually the second one that I'm looking at that I have to talk about is I wrote down starting lead generation too late in the day. I just talked about this with my team today. And that is, you need to put in your schedule a time, starting time and an ending time for lead generation, and you need to start on time as if you were going to get fired. Of course you're not going to get fired. This is your business, right? No one there to fire you as an independent contractor. But there's something to say that people who start on time based on their scheduled time, they start on time, they make more contacts in their lead generation time, and they lead generate more consistent. If you start, like, to me, I believe the starting time should be 8, the ending time should be 11. For people that I see that say they're going to start at 8 but start at 8:30, they make fewer contacts and they usually don't even stay until 11. It's just something that happens. You have to have integrity with your starting time and your ending time. It's the one area in our real estate business. If you'll have integrity for that one block of time, it'll do wonders for your business. And I think this is a complete landmine. We actually think that, we'll start 30 minutes late and we'll extend it and just we'll make 30 more minutes up on the back end. Never happens. And then over time, that compounds and you make too few contacts. And then I remember when I was coaching for Mike Ferry years ago, Mike said this. We would get people that would call us up. They would be our coaching clients, and they would call Mike up actually. And they would say, Mike, I've been coaching with Greg and he said he was going to help me do 50 transactions. And I only did 35 transactions. I want my money back. Okay? They would say this.
Yeah,
That's one of the reasons why Mike had a numbers analyzer. He had a numbers tracker back then. And what he would do, before he reacted to that conversation, he would go to their numbers tracker and he would see how many contacts they were making per day. And then he wouldn't say anything. He would just say, well, I'm kind of curious, what's your business plan look like? And he would see their business plan and it would say they're supposed to make 40 contacts a day. He would look at the numbers tracker and he'd see they were only making 25 contacts per day. He would do a quick calculation and he realized that the percent that they fell short of the stated goal, they also fell short in the stated amount, in the required amount of contacts. So in reality, I gave them the perfect recipe for 50, but they decided to put half the ingredients in and they got half of the product results out. And so it comes down to you got to start your lead generation and finish your lead generation on time every time. That is a landmine that we just don't realize it's blowing up our business in a bad way.
I can't help it. Every time we talk about lead gen or time blocking for lead gen, the one thing that always comes to my mind is the old Dunkin' Donuts commercial, time to make the donuts, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine you had a donut shop and every day you would make the donuts at a different time? One morning you come in at 5 and make the donuts that are ready for the 7 o'clock crowd. One day you show up at noon and make the donuts, like you'd have no business.
Yeah.
It's not much different than this. Like the consistency that you get from showing up every single day at the same exact time, the momentum that you would get carries over and it has a big impact on your business. So that's a
One,
big landmine there.
100%. Yeah. What you got next?
Another one is dabbling in too many lead sources.
Uh,
So, you see so many agents like they want to do it all. Okay, I want to do expires, I want to do FISBOs, I want to do circle prospecting, I want to do door knocking. Like it's nice, right? But you're never gonna master any one area. You're never gonna be dominant. You're not gonna have one thing that you can go to over and over and over and have it as consistent. So you instead of like trying to jump around, oh, one day you're calling expires, the next day you're calling FISBOs, and you just bounce it around. It doesn't work. Like you got to start with one, pick one, and really master it. Now, once you get really good at it, and it's predictable, controllable, scalable, then you can add a second one and a third. You don't need more than probably 4 would be max. Greg, right? You agree? I don't think you
yeah.
need more than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Three is probably optimal. 4 is definitely max.
Yeah, that's all you need. If you're good in 3 or 4 pillars or lead sources, I should say, if you don't use the word pillars, that's all you need.
Yeah.
But now it's predictable. You're consistent. Your skills are getting better because you're having the same conversations over and over and over. You're not having to learn new conversations by bouncing around to a different lead source. So really take a look at that and say, okay, what is my number one lead source that I feel most comfortable that I can convert? And then keep working on that one till you really mastered it before you take on the second one.
Yeah. I think a good test or a measure for agents is this. Ask yourself in the area of blank, fill in the pillar. Let's just say it's online seller leads. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most effective, highest conversion. Rate yourself 1 to 10, and let's just assume for a minute you rate yourself a 5. Ask yourself, what could I do that would take me from a 5 to a 7? And you do that with the pillars that you're focusing on, and you raise each one of them up just a little bit and compound it over say 3 pillars. That'll be a massive difference to your conversion to your business. And again, what I see the landmine being in what you're saying, Abe, is that we go too wide. We try to be good at too many things when we should try to be great at, make a commitment to be great at a few things, and you'll get much further than if you're good at many things.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, let's I'm going to wrap it up with this one.
Okay.
Failure to track numbers is a landmine. You and I have talked about numbers. You and I coach off of numbers all the time. And I was just thinking of a coaching call that I had recently with one of my agents, and I was looking at their numbers, and I know this number to be quite true because I remember the numbers pretty well. This agent was probably around 13 to 14 contacts to one appointment. Now they were working expires, okay, and doing some database calls. So 13 to 14 contacts to one appointment, a lot of people would say that's pretty darn good. But because I knew what pillar he was actually focusing on, I know that there's way more appointments to be made out of that number of contacts. So I challenged him and I said, we need to get that under 10. And eventually we wanted to get to 7 contacts per appointment. And but because he tracked his number and I knew he was at 14, I could look at all these maybe 8 to 9 different numbers he was tracking, and I pinpointed that one right there will make a world of a difference. And then I started coaching him, and one of the things I coached him is I say, every single contact that you have with an expired, it's going to be critically important that you ask 3 times for the appointment. If you don't get the appointment the first time, go after it again, then go after it again. Next thing you know, now he's setting an appointment around every 9 to 10 contacts when he's calling these expires. which is a dramatic increase of appointments with the same amount of contacts. And now it's increased the amount of listings that he's taken. Now he's taken probably a minimum of 14 every month, with a high month being around 19. So tracking the numbers is critical. The landmine is don't track your numbers and try to navigate through this long business, this long journey blind. It's just not going to be efficient if you do it that way. So that's the last landmine that I have.
Yeah. So the agent you just mentioned, just in that one little fix, asking for the appointment 3 times, if I did the math correctly, that's about a 40% increase in productivity. Just with that simple fix. Because they went from 13 contacts to, what was it, 10? You thought at the end?
Let's say at 10, yeah. 13 to 14, it's like 13 and a half. And then he went to like right at 10.
Yeah, it's a 40% increase in productivity and 30% increase in income. So
that one coaching call shot his listings, doubled his number of listings taken. Now, just from a calculation standpoint, there's going to be some data heads that are going to fact check me on a calculator. Yeah. I understand the math is not going to tell you double, but let me tell you why it doubled. Because then he took that coaching and started asking for the listing 3 times also. Yeah. He took that one coaching and he started applying that in his price reductions. In everything. He realized the coaching he wasn't asking, he was waiting for them to tell him that he had an appointment, or tell him that okay to reduce, or tell him okay you can have the listing. But when he started asking for it, everything changed. So the math does work out. I'm telling you, it doubled the number of listings because it actually affected other areas of his conversations.
Yeah, plus the repetitions, you're going on more listing appointments for expireds, you're just going to get better in that conversation and in that presentation. So I don't know if you remember this or not. Jay Abraham, you and I went to a Tony Robbins seminar maybe 10, 15 years ago, and Jay Abraham was there, and he talked about the power of compounding. So he would talk about you've got a P&L, right? And there might be 10 different line items on there. And a lot of people will think, well, let me try to grow my business by 40% this year or 50% this year. What he was saying was, okay, instead of trying to do that, why don't you take each line item, each one section, or each skill that you have and improve it by 2% or 3%. And then the compound effect of doing that in every single line becomes tremendous. Like, for example, we're talking about tracking numbers, right? We've got that top agent tracker software that we have. We track 9 numbers on here, right? So if you're thinking, let me grow my business 50%, how difficult would that be to try to come up with a plan to grow it by 50%? But if you said, look, I've got 9 items that I'm tracking as far as skills, what if I improve every one of these by 5%? What if I improve my ability to get an appointment by 5% by asking 3 times? And you do that 5% on every single line, that's a 55% increase compounded over all 9 items. So when you have data to look at and you make these little minor tweaks and you make it at every area of your business, you can see tremendous results.
Yeah. I just for those of you listen, I urge you to check out topagenttracker.com. If you decide to get involved and start tracking your numbers with us, one of the things that I'm doing is I've created and am continuing to create more content on breaking down every single number that you have to track and letting you understand and helping you understand that when you see this, these are the adjustments you need to make to totally change your numbers. Just like I did with this coaching client of mine, I saw that his ratio from contact to appointment set was 13 to set one appointment. Once I saw that, I then gave him a few different coaching tips, one of them being to ask 3 times, and it totally shifted his numbers, made hundreds of thousands of dollars because of that one shift. So the key with tracking numbers is also understanding how to change your numbers. And so if you get involved with topagenttracker.com, you're going to get that coaching in a video form so you can study that and understand how to actually grow your business. All right, Abe. Hey, besides that, Abe and I want to coach you. So we would love for you to join Agent Success Academy. It's a coaching program that we have weekly. It's live, full of content. I will tell you, the main people that want to join Agent Success Academy are the people that want to take a lot of listings, because that's what we're really focusing on. It's really focused on people that want to build big, large listing focused databases. So if you're interested in taking 7, 8 listings a month in your market, then Agent Success Academy is for you. All right, Abe, anything else?
That's it, Greg. That's a wrap.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.